Hello and welcome back to Could It Be?
An Oak Island podcast.
We are your hosts, Deidre and Dustin White.
Hey,
Hi.
Happy New Year.
It is, right? It's the second day of 2023.
Mhm.
Okay, I can't stand this.
This what?
The way this camera looks like I'm not even looking at the camera.
Well, look at the camera, silly.
I'm trying to. I'm sorry, guys. So if you can't tell, but you're watching us live,
What about it?
things look a little different here.
Okay.
I wonder if anybody could tell.
What's different?
Yeah, it feels like something's missing.
Maybe. Happy New Year. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our friends joining us in the chat. We are here to discuss season 10, episode 6 of The Curse of Oak Island, Over the
Muon.
Yeah, so Deidre's, what she was just saying is things look a little different if you're a viewer of the podcast. If you're just a listener, you have no idea what's going on, and that's okay.
That's okay.
And that's most of them out there.
All right.
But it's okay.
It is okay.
We'll discuss it real quick. We'll
Okay.
discuss it real quick. Okay. The chair is missing, okay? The red chair is gone.
The iconic chair that we've had since the beginning, because that chair started us with, what was a different podcast?
Boots and Armchairs.
And Armchairs, and it was our red armchair, a Treasure Hunters podcast. And it carried over, and it kind of became our thing.
It did, but Deidre's about to have surgery 2 weeks from today.
Yes.
And it's not going to work with how she's going to have to participate. Like when she participates in future podcasts, there's not going to be enough space for her with her jacked up leg.
Yeah. So basically it came down to us needing to reconfigure some stuff. And despite the aesthetic it may make.
Yeah. Well,
but that's okay.
Anyways, it doesn't, it doesn't matter. You know what that's not going to affect?
Anything about Oak Island?
Or the podcast, because we're just going to talk about the episode.
Well, clearly it affects the podcast because we're talking about it.
It affects the viewers, and the viewers are some of our favorite people.
They are.
We're sorry if you're going to miss the red chair. It's probably not coming back either. We put it in our daughter's bedroom, and she loves it.
Yeah,
and
she's
it's probably
going to
stay there
back.
now. Yeah, she absolutely loves it. Like she went and jumped right on it, about to take a nap on it immediately as soon as we put it in her room. So, anywho, you want to talk about some Oak Island?
I do.
So wait, we haven't had an episode for 2 weeks. We had a skip episode or a skip week basically. Skipsode. It was a Maddie Blake special, talking a lot about the money pit. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
You want to talk about that at all?
Sorry, I'm trying to share this to our group.
Okay, well, I'll talk about it.
Okay,
so we had like a little Maddie Blake special discussing money pit stuff. They actually even sent a camera down C1.
Yeah.
And really cool. Go and watch it. We're not going to get deep into it or anything, but cool to see.
Yes.
Thank you, Maddie Blake, for the special.
Yeah, it was really cool to see. And what I liked is, so over time, we've really compiled all this information together about the money pit. Just through interviews we've done, episodes we've seen, what all the different boreholes are. It was really great to see Steve's 3D map.
Yeah, you got to make one of those now. Go.
I don't think, I mean, I'm going to be laid up for a bit. But it was really cool to even just get the numbers. People are always asking, how many boreholes have you put down? And, I want to talk about this clearly. So I'm going to say something here. So where is it? So Maddie asked Doug.
Okay, so we're doing Maddie Blake special first.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do Maddie Blake special first.
Just because there are particular things I want to talk about, because we all know Deidre loves maps.
Yep.
That should be my hashtag. Deidre loves maps. Or my handle or whatever.
You do heart maps.
I heart maps. But Doug says that the historical narrative tells them that there are 24 shafts that they know of that have been put down. But rumor has it that there could be upwards of 40. Okay. And then Rick says, I would add an additional 20. So I'm like, whoa, no wonder they're always getting wood in the money pit. I wondered how many historically they knew of, because they have a lot of documentation and
And it only took him 10 seasons to share that with us. Thanks.
Well, to share it with us in this nice and I saw people complaining online that this was like just a recap, and I'm tired. I said, seriously? Because I didn't think it was a recap, and I'm someone that's just like watching it as a regular viewer.
Yeah, but it's literally not a regular episode of The Curse of Oak Island.
No.
So it's bonus material. You don't got to watch it, but
it gives just more perspective, in my opinion.
And like what I'm thinking though is just appreciate getting something a little extra. It's something you didn't have to have.
Yeah,
it's not,
exactly.
Who cares? Whatever.
Well, and even Doug says that they know there's some shafts that were put down that RV Harris didn't even document, which is probably why he's not going to be the only one that did that, which is why Rick's like, hey, let's just throw another 20 in there.
No, well, back in the day, we used to say, well, everybody thought they were going to be finding the treasure. Why did they need to write anything down? Who cares? We're going to go down, find the treasure, and get the heck out of there.
Right. I mean, you don't go in there. And besides, so they addressed Dunfield. And what have we been saying and harping on for so long that now I hear more and more people say, and now it's been said in the episode, Dunfield didn't go in there and like destroy everything. And when you see the top of the map where the Dunfield excavation is, that's 100 feet across. But at the bottom,
it's like the size
it's no bigger of a shaft, not a borehole.
Well, I mean, like the 5 foot by 5 foot kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to even if it's like a 10 by 10, which is the size of the garden shaft, or 13 by 13. That's apparently like the original size of the money pit shaft that was found. Okay, so I guys, give Dunfield a break. And honestly, the reason they're still able to dig in there right now is because he did the drilling
and built the causeway.
Well, and he built the causeway right to the mainland.
Yep.
Yes, but Scott did chime in. He said that more so what he did was they lost surface landmarks.
Jerk.
Because, I mean, they were recorded, but what's the accuracy? And when we talked to Steve, Scott, and Laird at the beginning of the season, we know the stone triangle was reconstructed. And that was reconstructed down to now probably within a foot of its original location. So they are...
Thanks to Paul,
because apparently he's a walking genius, in case you were wondering.
What else you got with Maddie Blake?
The boreholes.
No, there's only been a couple boreholes ever drilled on the island.
Yeah, no big deal. I mean, Maddie asked, how many boreholes and shafts has this team put in? Steve says...
just a few.
To date, 21 caissons and almost 500 boreholes.
Okay.
And that was earlier in the season, so they at least hit that 500. If it's almost 500, I'm sure they're beyond that now.
Beyond Oak Island.
Well, let's see here. When we first interviewed Steve, that first year after he was on, he said they had put down, since he had been there, at least 300. So, I mean, they're trending quite a few each season.
A lot.
That is all.
Yep, but hey, they got a much better understanding about the depths of the money pit now, even if they don't have it all figured out quite yet.
Exactly. Anyway, so that was like the big highlights that I took away from the Maddie Blake special that I guess were really just relevant to me because of I heart maps. Deidre loves maps.
Deidre hearts maps.
Okay, back to the money pit.
Oh, that's all you wanted to...
Yeah, that's all do you have something else you'd like to share?
No, just good. Go watch it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, if you haven't
Drilling
seen
down, Maddie Blake special.
All
right. So before we really jump in, there's one more thing I would like to say, because people in the chat are like, you guys look so much better. Yeah, well, we were sick for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Look, oh man, we finally feel human again.
It started with our son.
Mm-hmm.
He was sick.
Patient zero.
Yeah, he brought it home, spread it to the rest of us. He got better first. Good on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all of us weren't so good. We didn't make out so great. But we're better now. I still have a little tiny bit of a cough. Do you?
Like every once in a while I get a little cough puff.
So hey, what was it this morning? We're talking about something, and then I said, "Oh, you wanted to be sparkly like a vampire," but then you called yourself a pirate. But then
I called myself a pirate. I was like, "Yeah, because I'm a pirate."
I'm like, I thought you were a vampire.
I was like, "You just said you want to be a vampire."
I don't know what that has to do with anything,
I'm
but
a pyrovire.
Like she's stuck. Like her ever since she's come home from the Maritimes. Her mind's been stuck there, and she wants to like be sailing the high seas with Tony Sampson.
Oh, I was like, what does that have to do with pirates and vampires?
What does it not have to do with pirates?
Okay, I really meant to say, what does that have to do with vampires? But it does have to do with pirates, yes.
We were talking about how pale your skin was, and you're already basically a vampire.
But why were we talking about how pale my skin was? Because we haven't even started, and we're way off track.
Well, let's start.
Let's start in the money pit.
The money pit.
We were just talking about with Matt.
Yeah, but we're going back to episode 6 now, over the Muon in the money pit. What happened in that episode at the money pit site?
Okay, so we had, when we first jump in, Charles and Terry are at the operating table, if you will, looking at a core sample that was at 38 feet. We had no idea what that hole was till later. They didn't begin by telling us, but that was from borehole N.5-17.5.
Not even the best borehole this episode.
Not even the best borehole of this episode. So Rick and Billy show up and meet with Paul Cote and Simon Bedard. No, there's no N. Bedard from Dumas. See, I have a real problem with the mining company and how to say their name.
Okay.
About the garden shaft. Rick is, conversating with them about what's going on with the work today.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick tells them that he hopes they're going to get as excited as him and the rest of the fellowship is. And Paul just kind of laughs and says, "Oh, that's already starting."
Well, they're way more excited suddenly than they were when they first showed up.
Right?
Well, it's because they had the Vanessa effect. They're like shy. They're like, "Oh,
the Vanessa effect."
Yeah, they're
that's like kind of a cool thing.
Well, it's like I didn't know I was going to be on TV.
I didn't put my makeup on.
Yeah, and all these guys show up. They're like, "Whoa, you want to put us on TV?
You want me to talk?" Like there was nothing in my.
Yeah, they were not stoked to be on TV. And that first time they showed up, they're just like, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm glad we're here." Okay, but now they're getting a little more excited. They're used to the cameras being around,
right? And so they're, like you said, just getting more excited. We get the flashback from Robert Clotworthy saying it's what the garden shaft is, again, approximately an 80-foot deep structure that they unearthed back in 2017, and stating that wood samples indicate as far back as 1735, 60 years prior.
Yep. To the discovery of the money pit.
Yeah, as far as money pit discovery. Rick says in a side interview he would love for the garden shaft to be the original money pit, but it's too preliminary to make that assessment. I agree, Rick. I agree. What do you think? Do you think it could be the original money pit?
I don't know. I think that'll be an egg on their face if it turns out to be, because they found it. They're like, meh, let's build this rock garden around it and keep it off to the side for 5 years. That's like, if they would have like said, "Oh, let's get to the bottom of this now," we could have had some, if it is the money pit, like the original, and the treasure's down like right there, they could have had 5 years ago.
They could have. And something you see Rick say later, in order to know if they have an original money pit, they need to have a confirmation of, was it shaft 6 that should be 18 feet away?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what year was shaft 6 supposedly put down?
Anybody what?
Anybody know?
You're the one supposed to come with your facts. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I write them down because that's a lot of information to store. I wish I could Google search my brain. I have a lot of stuff in there.
Okay. So Paul and Simon explained to Rick and Billy that they're working right now. They're finishing up the structure around the garden shaft, and the concrete that has been poured and the pad, set up, and essentially they'll be holding the entire structure of the shaft, that what they had built. Simon says that they, as they lower the shaft structure they do it 8 feet at a time, and they'll be drilling holes, 16 to 20 feet down. Them looking for any abnormalities as voids, as well as voids.
So, okay, they've got the top of this garden shaft structure that they've reinforced and put down, and we see the animation, and they're lowering it 8 feet at a time, and each time as they're clearing out stuff, they're building this new waterproof structure, and then these platforms that go across, and then another 8 feet down there's another platform that goes across with the ladder and down.
I've seen this before somewhere.
Does this sound like the written description of the money pit that was a 13 by 13 foot shaft with oak logs every 10 feet?
Yeah, so it's not the same at all.
No, but it would be the same construction. And they found something built very similarly over in Smith's Cove by, more recent searchers, the Restalls. So clearly this has been the technology to do it for a long time.
However, the forgot what I was going to say. I forgot what I was going to say. No, there's something about the construction
of the money pit.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, however, I know what it is now. Back in when they dug the original money pit.
Yes.
The 10 layers or the layers every 10 feet. They didn't have a hammer grab.
They didn't. And you remember, so we've talked to Tony, and his thought is this was built coming up, right? Versus going down, which would make sense if, the original description doesn't necessarily say there's a ladder that you would come down each layer in the shaft, right? But if you were building up, you would want to seal it off.
Yeah, also they're talking about going down and putting in the platforms and stuff as they go down, but don't they have to hammer grab all the stuff out first before they put in platforms in there? Because if they start putting platforms in there, they're gonna bang the hammer grab across it all.
So they're gonna be pulling out the mud and all that every 8 feet, because they know that's where they're gonna need to put another structure. I assume they'll be shoring up the sides every 8, but they won't be putting in, or they'd have to put in partial layers to get down and continue constructing it as far as the platforms go. But they're also going to be drilling down further prior to digging in to see if they hit any other structures, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming the platforms are going to be removable.
I guess. I just think to myself, well, there needs to be a way. Like, what happens if they're like, oh, let's do another 20, 30 feet, because, literally it's only 80 feet down.
Mm-hmm.
The 90-foot stone was 90 feet down. It said another 40 feet down. Like, how deep are they going to actually have to go here?
Yeah. So, and that's assuming that in the money pit that, there was anything below that, right? Or was it a booby trap? Because as the legend goes, the tablet or stone or whatever that was square in the center at 90 feet with the inscription on it, that when it was lifted out, it triggered the booby trap, and the tunnel flooded with seawater. You know what that kind of reminds me of?
Goonies.
Indiana Jones. Oh. Right? He's got the idol, and he's like gotta put the the sand in it, and get just the right amount. But apparently he doesn't do it just right, and then starts getting chased by a booby trap.
Big boulder.
Well, if in theory this was actually how it happened, and you lift out the stone and it was triggered, then what could you have possibly done to keep the booby trap from triggering in the money pit?
Wait 30 years however long it took to or probably longer than that, to get like a camera down there so you could take a photograph of it rather than remove it. But I don't know what you do beyond that.
Okay, they didn't know that cameras would eventually become like a handheld box.
I'm just saying they should have like been a little more cautious. Who knows what could have happened? No, they didn't have any real reason to be super cautious, did they? They just wanted to.
Well, treasure hunters tend to, everybody thinks they know.
They're rash.
But these guys who were excavating it in the original story, they're just like, oh, this is crazy, and start pulling these up and keep going down, and they're not thinking, oh, this could be just like a shaft or whatever. And any idea if there was structure around those layers like they're doing coming down? I don't know. I've got all the questions.
Don't know.
I don't know either. So could we get to time traveling so we could figure that out? That'd be great. I'd appreciate it.
All right. So anywho, back to the construction going on in the money pit. No. Clotworthy explains, how it all is being built and how they're going to use the 109-foot crane with a 3-ton hammer grab to excavate the muck and water out of the old shaft. And then they're going to put down like the new system they're putting down is going to be waterproof.
Yep.
And that'll help out a lot. But it will go down to that planned 80-foot depth at first. Hopefully.
At least that's their goal, right? Is to get to the 80 feet.
Yeah, but what if it's deeper? Like, that's all the legends say way deeper than that.
Well, that's why as they go down, they're looking at the different, their goal, I think, is just for this year, because it's going to take a while to get down to that 80-foot level, which is why they're drilling in all these different locations. Because if they come back to this central location of near or around the garden shaft, it's kind of a big deal, right? I don't know. That's my thoughts. And they were drilling all over the place. They were drilling above the money pit when I was there in September. That's not far from where the Irving crane was. Irving was there.
Yeah.
I saw it.
You went down into the money pit, right?
I'll never tell.
All right.
Into the money pit. Wait.
No, into the shaft.
Are you trying to confirm that the money pit is the garden shaft?
Well, that whole area is called the money pit.
No, it's called the money pit area. Okay. Let's see here.
So 1 second. I noticed that when at one point during this scene, Rick was it might have been during Robert Clotworthy voiceover, but he looked kind of emotional to me, like knowing that he was going to get to go down there and the work, they were really ready to start digging. And to me, if you go back and watch it, he looked a little emotional. I don't know if there was any tears coming out of his eyes, but they looked like they were welling up just a little bit.
It's a really big moment, right? So you're talking about going down, as I want to say Doug said in the Maddie Blake special, going down underground, which they've never got to do. And the last person to do it was, I don't remember who, but
over 100 years ago.
So that's just something to think about.
Yep. All right, so that's kind of it with Dumas.
That section.
Yeah, but we do have lots of other work going on in the money pit. Like we had Craig, Steve, Scott, Charles, and Terry hanging out doing their thing.
Yep, just stone throw away.
I think they said like 75 feet to the south or something.
Throw a stone.
Oh, I can definitely throw a stone.
Far, so it's a stone's throw away.
Yeah, and they're doing the operating table stuff.
And Terry says that they seem to have encountered a tunnel at 99 feet, which is higher than where they were expecting to find a tunnel at 103 feet, because they've been chasing this tunnel, to the south, from the south for the whole season so far, right? And so that's what they're looking for. And Steve suggests that maybe it's a second tunnel or structure. And Craig says that he would take this particular borehole and go deeper, see if they hit the structure that they were originally chasing at the 103 depth, and just to see if it is the same one, like for some reason there was a jump in elevation, or if it really is two structures stacked on top of each other. And let's see here. That is at, and I write that there's a commercial break, and we come back to the money pit where we where we find Paul and Terry at the table as a new core is coming over from a 38-foot depth, which is borehole F.25-14.4. So basically, the core they were talking about just a little bit ago, saying we may have hit a second structure, they've already moved on to a new one because they're trying to get back to chasing that tunnel from the south. Copy?
Yeah, so Paul showed up.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Well, they're doing their work. All right, so what do they do next time that we're at the money pit? Next time we show up, Terry, Scott, Steve, and Paul are all there working on F.25-14.4. Is that your favorite new borehole? It's not even like a round number, like a quarter number.
I know,
or nothing.
it's like the 0.4.
Does it hurt you?
I want to write, no, that's not a typo.
Yeah. Does that hurt though?
No, I have to accept it. I understand it. I know why. I don't like it. It feels icky.
What do you like better? Because they later on talk about borehole. I don't remember the numbers, but it's IG, or IJ. Yeah, IJ and some numbers but
that makes sense because it's between I and J.
I know, but we don't get a lot. I know we had some ABs, but we don't get a lot of boreholes with those names.
Yeah, but it makes sense. Sometimes they hurt my heart, but that 0.4 really made me twitch a little bit. But knowing that they went to that one based off of what Craig said, because he wanted to do it as specific distance and angle off of their last hit from the tunnel, it made sense. He's not gonna go by the grid. And what makes Deidre happy with round numbers, he's gonna do it down to the exact decimal.
So. Good. Thank you, because I approve of getting Deidre a little bit fired up over these things because it's fun. It's fun to listen to her rants.
So, not everybody likes my rants. But,
I love them. They make my day better. It's good stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of weird.
All right, so we are back, and they have they pull up another choice sausage casing, right?
Of course.
And they're looking at it, and they found wood at a depth of 103 feet. So
ding, yes. Which is what they wanted.
Yeah. Scott asked Choice where they encountered the drop, and Terry informed him that it was between 99 feet and 103 feet.
Okay, so that if it was a drop from 99 to 103, they're thinking that is this new tunnel or structure that they found, and then the next structure would have started at 103 feet.
I wonder how wide it was originally, because that's a 4-foot gap, but the tunnel was probably much wider than 4 feet at one time, because if it collapses in on itself and the soil kind of compresses the tunnel, it probably I would guess probably 6 feet or so tall.
Yeah, and if we think about, I don't know enough about mining. Doesn't mean couldn't figure it out, but the shafts that we've seen put down heard of put down, and the one they measured was 10 by 10. Right?
Have you not watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? You know all you need to know about mining if you watch that movie.
Then they should have a lot of gems by now, or they need to have a movie night.
Or they need to find a better place to dig.
Or, I mean, you know what? If we watch that movie, then we need to know exactly how tall the dwarfs are. And then we can compare the size of the said surroundings around them. So maybe it is indeed a 4-foot gap because of how tall the...
Wait a second. Are you saying that dwarves did the construction at Oak Island?
Maybe. If you are going off the theory that watching, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs means that it just maybe people were that much shorter that worked in mining then.
I think they need
I take Snow White as fact.
I think they need to whistle more.
I wonder if they have any whistlers. Maybe that is the problem.
Whistle while you work. Mm-hmm. And then they're successful after the whistling. So,
and
I'm just going to throw it out there. That's a free one, guys. Take it, start whistling. You'll get some gems.
Or there's or a flute or a recorder, just like, how in the Goonies, in order to get past that one booby trap, they had to play the music on the piano.
On the bones. They had to play the bones.
They had to play the bones. Maybe that's the problem. The bones they found up, they didn't play the bones.
And so that's stuck until they do it. Well, as long as they play the recorder, like the Pirates of the Caribbean, the terrible version.
Yeah.
That's the best. Go to YouTube and find Pirates of the Caribbean recorder. On the recorder, oh my gosh, it's literally one of the best, funniest things I've ever heard in my life.
Best thing. We'll share that on social media later.
Okay.
Oh, that is funny. Okay, so let's not speculate anymore about how big the tunnels are.
So there was a side interview with Steve, wasn't there?
Yeah, somewhere. Oh, there it is. So there's a side interview with Steve, and he says that right now, they have real evidence that they have 2 different tunnels at 2 different elevations at the same location. I say he seems very adamant that this is fact.
Well, if you watch that Matty Blake special, he said really adamantly, I knew we had found the money pit last year. So
I don't have opinions. I have facts.
Sorry, Steve. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I don't know the value of the gut till guarantee anymore. Right the first time. Uh-oh, he got it wrong.
Okay.
Sorry, Steve.
You're mean to your friend.
It's funny. Everybody seems to agree about the concept of 2 different tunnels. And Terry says that Rick would probably want to see this newfound information, if you will. So they do call Rick to the money pit.
Rick.
And
they should have a Rick signal.
They probably do.
No, like the bat signal. They just start shining it up, and he's like, "Oh, I need to go to the money pit."
That's what I'm saying. They probably do.
What would it be? It's not a bat.
It's a Dr. Pepper.
Ooh,
it's just like a soda. They hold a soda can in front of their flashlight and aim it up,
shining on the treetops.
Yeah, and it's all about using what resources you have. There's a few cans or soda bottles laying around, and someone's got a big old flashlight. It's just use what you have. Create the bat signal.
So, in case you don't know, I guess Rick is obsessed with Dr. Pepper.
Really obsessed. Okay. And is a big fan of sugar.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Carrying on. When they call Rick over to the money pit, they show him the core, and Terry tells them that the target was the tunnel that they've been chasing to the south, but he thinks they may have hit another tunnel. Rick seems very excited about this. He says, really? Really? Which is, I mean, it's crazy to think that one tunnel starts at 103 feet and one ends there. But as Scott says, right now we have confidence that at about 103 feet is the floor of this new tunnel they found that starts at 99 feet, and which is higher than the tunnel that they've been chasing. So,
was Marty in this episode?
Yes.
Okay.
He does a nice wrap up at the end.
Gotcha. I forgot. Like if Marty was more like in this episode a little bit more, he'd be saying that's the offset tunnel. You know?
That's the offset chamber.
Or the offset chamber.
To the offset chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would definitely be saying that.
Yep.
Let's see here. And then we have the side interview where Rick says it is possible that this tunnel at this elevation would have allowed he poses the question. Is it possible that this is a tunnel at this elevation would have allowed another tunnel to come so very near it, right? So we're talking about them stacked on top of each other. Might one or both of these tunnels be associated with original work at the garden shaft? It's possible. So he's keeping his options open.
Cool. Steve says, well, that makes our lives a little bit more confusing and gives us a little more work to do.
No, Steve, it gives you more work because you have to now create projecting two tunnels.
Sorry, Steve, you got homework.
Yep. And we get to see his homework shortly after this, actually.
Scott says that the next step would be to review the data and how it relates to the other tunnel and the garden shaft. And have they been chasing toward the garden shaft?
Yeah, the other one. So the question is, are they all going to the same location? I keep going back and forth about, like, could you have two tunnels like that? But I don't see why not. I mean, what is that city that's built like underground? Like, rooms are built on top of each other. Buildings have multiple stories. I don't know why shafts couldn't have multiple. I mean, moles have like tunnels on top of each other. Oh, people.
Well, that's what the Boring Company is going to do. They're going to put tunnels everywhere. There's tons of space underground for tunnels.
Yes, but, is there competent structure between the two pieces in order to stack them on top of each other like that? Maybe. I don't see why not. You create switchbacks when you're hiking up and down. It would be the most efficient way to also come up and down and save the money pit.
I don't know, man. It's efficient to go up and down that way, but it's not efficient digging it in the first place because that's like double the dig. Triple the dig. If you're repeatedly going the same length over and over, just increasing your elevation or decreasing your elevation, man, that's a straight line down way easier.
It is if you've got the system of ropes and pulleys, which is very likely based off of evidence found within, on the island that you could do that.
Yep.
But you'd also need more manpower in order to lower something down a great length versus if you had something with a slight slope, if there were fewer people that were having to move things in and out of said location.
I don't know, just the week before this episode, I think we had 2 ships full of over 400 men
to construct. But what about its ongoing use?
Why is there ongoing use? They deposit, they get out of Dodge.
Unless it is such as has been presented before, it would have been like a bank or where several people and there were consistent transactions going. Or it could just be 2 tunnels going in different directions.
I was just thinking, what if one of those has something to do with the flood tunnel system?
Yeah, maybe one's for flooding and one's for running.
Yeah, don't know.
Maybe at the 90-foot level, when you hit that stone, you should have gone up one more. It's like, don't do it. Don't go below here. Like, if you know this decoy here, it means you've gone too far and you need to go up 20 feet or something. and then over to the offset chamber.
All right, let's finish up the money pit.
Okay.
We got one more little section that toward the end of the episode where we had Terry, Charles, and Paul doing their thing. And this, actually, we need to talk about...
we need to talk about the research center.
Yeah, my bad. Let's go research center with Steve, Rick, and Scott.
Where Steve is presenting his homework that he is, sad that there is now. But that his job is homework, so...
He'd be a great student probably, huh? He just goes and does the homework immediately.
But does he?
I don't know. It happened for us just like that.
It's the magic of television. But it does kind of seem like it happened right away.
Wow.
Anywho.
I gave him a compliment. You're like, is he though? I'm like,
but man. He used to teach at college. So at COGS, right? So maybe he's an excellent teacher instead. See what I'm doing here?
No.
Full circle.
Yeah. All right. So Steve opens by saying that they are finished with F.25-14.4, and they are trying to determine if that is part of the tunneling system from this year, the other stuff that they found.
Yeah, so the original tunneling system that they've been chasing, the one in the south.
Okay. They are meeting to formulate a new plan for where to do their next drill.
In the money pit area.
Yep.
Steve says that they had a confirmed hit that was probably not the tunnel that they were originally chasing. So basically, this is everything we just went through before, and Steve is teeing us up. And he explains that the last confirmed hit from the tunnel they were chasing this year was actually J 15.25. Okay, so they're kind of going back to that data where they know they've been chasing that particular one, which is the tunnel at 103 feet. Not the one from 99 to 103. And then we see on the projection, the giant screen.
Maps.
Yes, and I was very excited. And we see Steve's grid up there in the research center. And there are the two purple lines on the grid for the projecting of this particular tunnel. And the projection, the team as a whole feels confident is the tunnel.
The first tunnel.
Yeah, the first tunnel that they've been working for this year.
Yep.
They believe that's it. And then those purple lines stop right at the big green circle.
Were they purple? I'm sure they were pink.
Oh my gosh.
Perpendicular pink lines.
No, it's literally described as purple. Narration. We are not going down this rabbit hole or this mine shaft
I'm just
or
saying,
whatever. You're wrong, and you are clearly colorblind, and you just need to accept it. So Steve goes on to explain that here's where they run into a problem, because we were talking about where purple runs into, that is purple. Oh my gosh.
Looks pink to me.
Okay. We've established that what you think is pink is purple. So I thought you wanted this argument to end, because it's been going on for over a year.
I know what I'm seeing, okay?
You know what you're seeing, but what you're seeing
Your shirt is purple. Okay? It's much different than magenta. This color.
It's closer to a red tone than okay. We're done.
You probably think my shirt's blue.
It is.
I know.
Okay, so like I was saying, the purple lines run into the green circle, which is the setback from the Muon sensor. Okay, from the East Muon sensor, which, by the way, take a note. The East Muon sensor is located at H14.5. And the green circle, or is it green? Yeah, is 10 feet from that point. Okay. But then there's also this red line that's kind of seems random running through it, but that is the power to the Muon sensor. So you don't really want to mess that up. And we can't move the Muon sensors. They're in place. And Clotworthy even chimes in to say that late last fall, so we know they were placed late last fall, the Oak Island team installed the Muon tomography sensors deep underground in 5 boreholes across the Money Pit area. And then we get a nice aerial view of where they are. They look like a dice, right? We also get a look at the map that shows it, and we get the aerial view.
My question is, does it detect the spaces only in the green or everything in between?
So the green is the buffer zone for the Muon sensors, right? So that the information it's taking in, when they filter that out, then it's consistent. With sonic drilling, they're going to know the frequency in which they're drilling at, right? So when the Muon sensors come out of the ground, they're going to be able to take the data that, say, would have interfered at that frequency and at those times and filter it out, just like you can do with any type of what do I want to say? LiDAR information or DEM models or any of that. You can pull out information based off of the readings so that you're not conflicting and being all confusing. So that's one of the reasons you would want to stay out of those circles. However, as Rick said, they were told that they were being overly cautious by having that 10-foot diameter buffer setback. So he is okay. Will you?
I'm showing the spot.
Okay, I see. So, and Scott confirms that yes, indeed, that buffer is them being overly cautious, and he does remember them saying that. Well, Rick asks Steve to project the tunnel the rest of the way through based off of what their data says, right? That as it's going northwest, they'd be going northwest towards the garden shaft area, and that goes straight through the circle and through the power and all that fun stuff. But as they zoom in, Rick goes, "There's a spot right there. I'd be comfortable putting a borehole down because it's no more than a foot inside of the buffer." They're like, "Okay, if Rick says it, if boss says it's okay."
I'm just worried. I'm worried about that because, like, what if they messed it all up now?
I don't think that's what's going to happen.
I hope not.
They know they're being overly cautious with that buffer. I guarantee Rick or Scott, probably as the project manager, picked up the phone and called them and said, "Hey, here's what we're looking to do. It's at such and such location," which would be 1 foot in. So it'd be 9 feet from this Muon sensor. Would it suffice for us to put it down there? And they would tell you yes or no. No, they're not dumb enough to say, "I'm going to throw this brand new technology with these sensors in there. And, I'm feeling like taking a risk. Let's just put a hole down there." But they're chasing a tunnel and they need confirmation that that's indeed where it's going. So that's the goal of putting down this new one, which ends up being IJ 15.25.
You like that one?
It's fine. Doesn't hurt my feelings. And it seems to be like dead center in the middle of the tunnel projection. And then they can see whether or not they hit their one tunnel again or not. Okay. But then they have to leapfrog over it, I'd assume, to see if they get another hit.
We'll find out in the future.
We will.
What do you think? How do you think when Scott calls these people, does he say, "What's up, Muon mates"?
Probably. Maybe moose. But yes, so I'm seeing a couple comments in the chat about they never go straight down as far as when they're drilling. But at the same time, with choice drilling, as Steve told us in an interview quite a while ago, with them, they have way less deviation with the holes they put down than when they were using the other well drilling. I would think, I mean, also, could you gyroscope every so many feet to see if you're off? I don't know. I would hope so. Watch. I'm going to say this, and then they're going to like go straight over the power on it. And looks like that power connects the north and the east muon sensors. And then they'll take them both out. Oh, man.
I thought you were going to say people in the chat were saying that the lines look pink because literally I see that on Facebook and on YouTube.
And it's also, they're purple, first off. And when you hold your phone up, what happens when it comes through the camera with the RGB color? Whatever. I'm done.
You want to fight?
I don't want to fight. I just want you to accept that they're purple.
I can only accept what my eyes are showing me, babe.
I know. And I need you to accept that your eyes, while we got them fixed with lasers a while ago, they did not get color fixed.
Well, I did recently bleed out of one of my eyes, didn't I?
You did. So clearly we can't trust your eyes.
Whatever.
Okay,
right.
Let's carry on now that I'm done with my over explaining of things.
All right, so you said borehole
IJ
15.25.
You can't trust your mouth either, I guess.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, so they're we can yada through this. They're excited to get to this hole because they think they could sneak it in there, and we're gonna see what happens when they do sneak it in.
Yeah, and how do they leave this scene?
Talking about like the Wizard of Oz or something.
Steve,
and they're in the land of Oz suddenly.
You can see the moment in which I swear I saw a light bulb go off above his head. Like he's like, I got a one-liner that is gonna be perfect here.
What do you say?
And Rick and Scott laugh at him. And it says, "Yup, I like that. Maybe there's a little piece of gold at the end of this rainbow. The more you know."
Hey, I give him an A for effort.
Okay.
I think he tried.
We give him a toonie, like, because that's like a little gold at the end of the rainbow.
Sure.
We know there's gold in the water, so I guess technically he's not wrong. But I didn't see any rainbows this episode.
All right. I think we do have a little bit left where they're drilling that borehole.
Yes.
Over with Terry, Paul, and Charles. And
IJ 15.25.
Yep, there's not much there though. They're just starting on it.
Yep.
So good job.
Good job.
Let's go to lot 8.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It was definitely an exciting episode.
For Gary and Jack Attack.
Yeah.
So they're metal detecting together. Lot 8.
Lucky lot.
Yeah, no, the giving lot.
The giving lot. That's true.
Gary explains that it makes sense that they clear this area out since they had many excellent finds on this lot. Jack agrees and says that they are in the middle of lot 8, which is a location that they really haven't been in before because it was so thick with underbrush before.
And it's crazy that that's been the giving lot, and it's just now that they've been able to get in there and have the Gearhart crew.
And it's so far away from the money pit.
Well, exactly. And the records don't necessarily show there was some kind of big activity going on there. But the question I would pose then, is there a lot more roads in that area than realize? Because, maybe you'd be dropping things. I don't know, just a thought. And so they're in the middle of lot 8. So I guess they've been searching around the edges.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And which, as Jack says, they actually haven't been in before. And Gary, of course, chimes in there with a good one-liner. Let's strike up the magic wand and put this area on the map. The treasure map. Which is Steve's map, technically.
So is that what Steve's busy doing all these years? Making a treasure map?
Steve has literally been making a treasure map.
Fun. All right, so they do start metal detecting.
Yes.
The magic wand is out, and they get a hit.
Yes.
And Gary pulls up the flag.
Mm-hmm.
Jack starts digging. What do they find?
They find what looks to be a chain.
Yeah. And what did Gary say about that chain?
As he's holding up, this could be the missing link.
He's full. He's the best one-liner.
Oh my gosh. And he does talk like this. And it happens. Like it just
he has a gift.
That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
You'll be talking to him and you don't even see it coming. And it falls out of his mouth so naturally and so quickly. I tend to think I'm a little witty and kind of funny sometimes, but Gary, down to an art. Quite clever.
He's been working on it for years. He's perfected it.
Yeah, I agree with the magic wand.
Yeah. So Jack asks Gary if he might know the dates for these the links of chain.
Mm-hmm.
Gary says that since it's an oval link,
Mm-hmm.
that would indicate a lot older,
Mm-hmm.
and likely hand forged.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack's like, well, what would you use something like this for? And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, maybe wrap around a chest or a box.
Yeah, so if you have like a strong box and you're hauling it along and you don't want stuff coming out, put a chain around it. Mm-hmm. Kind of like those animations that we've seen with boxes with chains around them. Well, treasure chests, if you will, being hauled up by those eye bolts. Just saying.
Yeah. Agnes in the chat, the OG, asks what happened to the red chair.
She wasn't here for that explanation.
Yeah, it caught fire, and we had to put it out of its misery.
Yeah, a Knights Templar burst in here and was like, "Down with the chair!"
No. Okay, we'll say it again real quick, one more time. It moved to our daughter's room because Deidre has surgery in 2 weeks, and she's not going to be able to fit in front of the computer to work or to record podcasts and stuff, because it was really close to the computer and it doesn't roll or anything. It was like really, it was not going to work out. So we needed to modify our podcast area.
Yeah,
and that's what happened.
The table, the chair, all the things had to happen so that we can continue providing excellent content to you.
And it's not coming back because Emma staked claim on it. She loves it.
She likes it too much.
Yep. Sorry, I know.
It is. It's still part of the family.
Yep. All right. Then what? So they do more metal detecting.
Yep. They go to the next flag.
Yep. And he starts waving the magic wand again, and he finds something that they later on call his best find of the season. Yeah.
And Jack does his hardcore digging, and what comes up is something that's kind of blue-green in color, which would mean it has a lot of copper in it. They're like, I don't know what this is. Gary suggests that it could be maybe a large brooch, a belt plate, or a headdress, but he clearly can tell it is very old.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? We're going to get to this in a minute, but they take it to the lab.
Yeah.
And the archaeologists are really hedging their bets against how old this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Like Helen's there and Laird. Not so much Emma. Emma does some stuff on it too, but she doesn't like give an opinion like they do. They're like, it's old, but it's not 20th century, so it is old. But like Gary's like, no, it's really old. I've seen this is what Roman coins look like when they come out of the ground. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, it's just going to be another instance of Gary was right at the beginning. And like the archaeologists, they have their reputations at stake. They can't just say this is 1,000 years old.
Not everybody can be a Gary.
I know,
right? Because you need some crushers of dreams.
Yeah, but Gary's usually right.
Oftentimes he is, or at least he knows where to start, and he'll go back and do his research, right? Mm-hmm. But he has so many years of experience and pulled up so many very old artifacts that you can kind of draw a conclusion from what you have researched and found in the past. But it does seem to even stump him a bit. And even before they get to the lab, you and I spotted some symbols that we recognized. And we can get into that once we get in.
That wasn't before. That was when they put it through the CT scanner.
No, when you look up close at it, you could see the symbol.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember. It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago, and we were sick, but we recognized some of the symbols right away. And I think the archaeologists are like, I'm not gonna stake it, my reputation necessarily on saying it's an Egyptian hieroglyph.
Yeah, it does look like an Egyptian hieroglyph.
It looks exactly like the one.
The twirly thing?
Yeah. Yes. That makes the sound of like a hard H. Yeah.
Sure. Hey, you know what I was just thinking about?
No, I don't. I can't read minds.
No, we were talking about how Gary's like the king of the one-liners, mm-hmm. and like, but you know who else is? Dr. Aaron Taylor.
Oh my gosh.
Wouldn't it be great to have them like a buddy archaeology like recovery TV show? Like,
I bet it would be wonderful.
And they just like literally play off each other the whole time. No, and it's just like it's not even it like archaeology and discovery of like treasures is like actually not even the focus of the show. It's really a comedy show.
Touring comedy show. Is it Gary just like got back from a cruise according to his social media. So what if they did like a touring cruise and like Aaron and him just like interview and pun each other?
I don't know. Maybe, I guess. That wasn't what I was thinking. Okay. I was thinking of like them literally go out and like do archaeology and go out and like, metal detect and find treasures and stuff. But that's really secondary.
They both have a skill set.
And they find lots of amazing things. But it's really secondary because it's really a comedy show with just them like their banter.
Imagine if they had like a YouTube channel together.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like,
that would be hilarious.
Like, I feel like the show robbed us of Aaron Taylor, Dr. Aaron Taylor, because like we only got him for like a season and a half, basically. But he was like really good at the zingers.
Oh yeah, he's all over it. So I met with him. Well, we have a good relationship. We've interviewed him and we talk, and I still want to go to Cuba. And I met him in Nova Scotia when I was there. Mm-hmm. In September.
Oh yeah, girl.
And yeah, he's quick with those one-liners. Not as quick as Gary. Like that is embedded in his soul, I feel like. But
I don't know. It's just something that came in my brain.
The two of them together. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That'd be fun.
I'd like to get those two together at the mug. That would be a riot.
It'll be fun.
It would be fun.
All right, sorry, go for it. Let's talk about
this actual very interesting artifact that's come up. Already talked about that because based off of the color and the patina.
Yep.
It would be copper in nature, and Gary gives us some suggestions of it maybe being a large brooch, a belt plate, a headdress, and Jack says that it had to be in the ground a couple hundred years, you would think, to have a patina like that. And Gary's face, it's funny, and he's like, oh no, I've pulled Roman coins looking like this up out of the ground. And Gary suggests that it's really old.
Mm-hmm.
Like he really emphasizes that.
I know. And then like Laird and Helen are kind of poo-pooing on that.
Well, I don't know that they're poo-pooing so much as they don't have anything handy to say, here, it's whatever. Even then, like when we get to the specialists, they bring in someone, with the Mayan background. In his experience,
Mesoamerica.
Yeah, is the Americas. And we're saying it's not from America.
Nope.
It doesn't look like that.
Mm-mm.
So anyways, so Gary and Jack are super excited and they begin putting it in a Ziploc bag, double zipper, very careful not to break it, and are like, we need to get this back to the lab right away.
You mean the interpretive center? The
interpretive center, which, did you not notice, people refer to it as the lab all the time.
Makes me sad. It was already what it was.
Yeah.
And now,
well, they interpret things in the lab as well.
I don't like change.
Yeah, I know. Maybe they're gonna make okay, so the island's been closed to the public for a few years now, right?
Unfortunately.
Maybe they're gonna build another, an interpretive center or a museum, something bigger and better.
They should.
I agree. So why not? Okay, so to the interpretive center / lab, we have Craig, Laird, Emma, and Rick.
I wish we had our sound effects. We could have played the Batman one.
I can only do so much in a day. And Laird Man is for the archaeology trailer.
Laird Man.
And Gary and Jack come in with their newly found artifact, and Craig says to them, "Hey, smiley guys." So clearly they have Cheshire Cat grins and are so excited to show them what's going on.
Of course.
They stick it under the microscope, the Fisher brand 425 series microscope, with a C-mount 10 megapixel camera, so that Laird is able to take pictures of the artifact at a resolution up to 90 times their actual size.
I'm pretty sure my phone has 100 megapixel camera.
Yeah, anyways, I have questions about that too. Because, I get maybe you don't need more than a 10 megapixel camera, but it also may have to do with that particular microscope. But they're saying that it's just a C mount, and I assume they mean you're just plugging in a C cord to it, because over the top where the eye hole would normally be is where the camera is. So it must be some very specific attachment for that type of microscope. I don't know.
Okay, well, what else?
Where to go.
So as they're looking at the artifact on the larger screen, Rick asks Laird what he thinks of it. Laird's initial thoughts is it looks military, and
sorry, it's not military.
Well, no, he does think it's military at first, but then they ask him later on, and he says, "No, I don't think it's military."
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, I didn't think it was military.
Hey, I'm reading your notes, okay? You're only arguing with yourself at this point.
I know.
Deidre took the notes today.
I did. That's why they're so excellent.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyway, Laird says that, but why is this on lot 8? It should be. It shouldn't be there. And Gary chimes in and says, "Neither should that brooch we found near this artifact."
So the brooch wasn't far away.
Yep. So Emma asks if she can take a look at it with the XRF machine. Put it and get some analysis.
Yes.
And they do that immediately, and it shows 95% copper with a little zinc and iron.
Yep, and the zinc and iron levels are almost the same amount. They're the remaining 5% of the 95.
So it's equal parts zinc and iron?
Almost equal parts if you were going to put a recipe together.
All right, since the zinc is such a small amount, Emma says that it could mean it's really old. Then we get
Boom Baby. That was a better Boom Baby than the one earlier in this season.
Yeah, it was. It was really good. Jack was there too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He should have said, "Ghost of Dynamite!"
Right? And they are, you can tell just looking at Gary and Jack that they are so excited.
Yeah,
like,
well, this is a find.
Over the Muon excited.
This is a legit, like, cool find.
Yeah, very exciting.
By the way, the title episode Over the Muon, that's really like, it feels like it was false advertising almost, because like I was excited. I thought we were gonna get some Muon results, and it was just like, hey, we need to avoid the Muon, guys.
Versus like, just the fact that we're gonna go over the Muon line.
You couldn't name the episode something like a little more relevant, like something.
But all of the episodes are dad joke names, so
yeah. Well, it should have been like
really
something about.
Expected more.
So it should have been something about green copper or something. I don't know. That was a way bigger focus in this episode than Muon.
Tell me what kind of one-liner you could have got out of green copper.
I don't know.
Maybe what they should do next year is just have Gary name each of the episodes.
That would be good.
We should write Prometheus and be like, excellent idea here.
We should. You get on that.
You get
on that. All right, so Laird, he says that he thinks that the next steps are to do a CT scan. And for some reason, Deidre put the model number and the scan tower. I didn't finish
my thought there.
And everything about the scanner. And clean it up, but very delicately. In a side interview, Laird says that this piece is so unique and potentially very old. So at least he's not poo-pooing it there. But
no, and he seems really excited about it. Like each time you're asking him, and to get Laird excited that's saying something.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So yeah, basically that's it. They say, hey, Rick says, go back out there and find some more.
And Gary and Jack are ready to put some more coil to the soil.
He's had that one up his sleeve for years. Like he probably says that all the time. It's one of his back pocket like little one-liners he pulls out. Amisha,
perfect. It could have been titled The Missing Link. Like, what a great episode title.
It could have been. That would have been also a little bit like misleading, though, because literally they talked about it for like 30 seconds.
Every one of the puns is going to be misleading.
No.
This is like...
I like it.
Very much descriptive.
Yeah, but the focus of this episode was the money pit and this green thing. This little green copper metal thingy. I don't know. I like it, Amisha. I really do. The Missing Link would have been better for sure, but
okay. So let's then
then they would have got people tuning in. They're like, "Oh my gosh, they found the Missing Link. This is it."
No, that's not what people do. So we get another shot or scene in the interpretive center / the lab.
Yep.
Because they had to put the item in the scanner for upwards of 24 hours. So Rick comes in to join Laird, Helen, and Emma to take a look at the CT scan of the artifact that they found on Lot 8 the previous day.
Yep.
They observed the CT scan of the artifact on the big screen, and they observed that it is folded in on itself 3 times. 3 times. So it initially, like when Laird described it, he called it rather thick, if you will. But apparently it's quite the opposite. It's very, very thin. So
is there like, did they fold it before they put the designs on it, or are there designs in between too?
In my opinion, looking at it, because you can see it on both sides, it is something that, when it fell or got damaged or whatever, it just got folded in on itself, and it's just one thin.
So if they stretch it out, there's more information there.
Potentially, or because it is likely a repeating symbol, as we kind of get into when we get into the war room meeting, and it would be more of that same symbol.
Okay.
So
more hieroglyphs. Okay.
More hieroglyphs. But with the CT scan, I figure, because isn't that the one where you can look at it through very thin slices?
think so.
Well, then you should be able to reconstruct each of the layers.
Possibly.
Right? Well, I guess it depends on how thin of slices you could make. But if you know how thick one piece is, then the rest would be, in theory, that thick, and you could see the rest of the design without actually having to open it. You'd be digitally reconstructing.
Are you or are you not friends with Laird?
I know. Actually, I almost sent him a text today asking if
are you or are
answer.
you not BFFs with Laird Niven? I mean, go.
He doesn't know that we're BFFs, but he has now been upgraded to BFF status because I have CT scan questions.
All right.
Oh no, Laird's the man. So I'll talk to him and ask. Anyways, yeah, it's been folded in on itself 3 times. Laird says that you can tell these markings are A, deliberate, and B, something he's never seen before, and calls them strange symbols. And at this point, I'm going, no, I've seen those symbols. Because believe it or not, I mean, Dustin and I have talked about our work on treasure hunt called Map of the Dead, and a big part of it had to do with ancient Egypt. In that time, we spent plenty of time learning about how to read hieroglyphs, about how the different temples and Egyptian pyramids were built, and the culture and these different artifacts. Never thought it would come in use here, but hey, if they're using Muon technology, like where they found the hidden chamber in the pyramids, why not have an Egyptian symbol here? That's the missing link. See what I did there? Full circle. What?
I always thought I was like not bilingual, but I guess I am.
You are. You can read hieroglyphs.
I can read hieroglyphs.
Yeah, because
just like they're English on a page, easy.
Okay, it's not easy at all, even for those who know how to do it. But I was thinking that symbol around the outside is look like a cartouche, which would usually indicate like a name. But I don't think it's a cartouche. I do think it's like a border. But anywho,
okay,
that's all. Cool. It was just a tangent. You said you liked them.
Sometimes. Yep. So Emma, she says that she wants to go through each little design and measure them out because she wants to make sure they're not stamped on it. Mm-hmm. And if they are handcrafted, then that means that this thing is way older. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna guess yes, hand forged, handcrafted,
definitely
handmade.
Yeah, they didn't look consistent.
They didn't have machine presses in Egyptian times, okay?
Yes, but they didn't know this is an Egyptian symbol. I mean, it feels clear as day to me. So I literally thought they'd walk in the lab and someone would just identify it as what I keep calling it. I mean, I could be way wrong.
Yeah, so literally the money pit's going to end up being like Cleopatra's tomb.
Possibly.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Done.
They can't find it. Mm-hmm. Or not Cleopatra. Nefertiti.
Yes.
That's what I meant.
I knew what you meant. Mm-hmm. How about that?
Found it.
It's just underwater right now.
Yep. So Rick says they need to find a way to put a date on it because it is such a wow thing.
Agreed, Rick.
Rick asked Laird, what is this? You thought maybe military? What have you come off of that? And Laird responds, yeah, apart from that, I don't know what it was. If it was on some clothing or if it was more ceremonial, don't know yet, but they're looking into it. Clotworthy chimes in and asks if this could be from, if this was ceremonial, could it be something like Scott Clark had indicated on his theory about the Masonic breastplate, you know, that they use when they're doing
the ceremony that's supposed to mimic
taking the Ark of the Covenant from underground chamber. Sounds good to me. Yeah. Ooh.
What?
Ark of the Covenant. Moses. Egypt. Making some connections here.
Connecting the dots. Maybe you found the missing link.
I was going to say they should have called the episode Connecting the Dots.
They had one last year called Connecting the Lots.
That's true.
So, I mean, not too far off. But we had shared on social media after the episode about the symbol, the Egyptian hieroglyph, and how it looked like the one. Mm-hmm. And Chris Morford, who you guys know works with Corey and Mal and is a consistent theorist on the show, who I happen to run into.
BFF. You have lots of BFFs from Oak Island, through Oak Island.
But anyways, he had posted a picture of something that was like a Masonic type of symbol that also looked rather similar. And that made me think of also Scott Clark's theory. So yeah, it would make sense because actually a lot of the Masonic symbology and iconography does come from those ancient languages, and such as the Egyptian. I've got a book, a Masonic book, and it explains it better than me. But that is all. That's it.
How many ancient Egypt books do you have over there?
A few. I actually had them out.
Go grab one. Go grab one. No, I'm just, it's a joke.
Okay.
We need to finish
We can
this
talk
podcast
about that on pregame
tomorrow
because there are some interesting things in the description of King Tut's tomb, and some of the artifacts in there kind of remind me of this copper. That is all.
Cool. So Rick and Helen are chatting.
Yes.
And Rick asks Helen what she thinks about it, and she's just as mystified as the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
And she says her observation is that it's very thin and appears quite decorative, and that she has never seen anything quite like it before. And that's it. It's intentional decoration on it.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick poses the question to them. So you don't think it's possible that this can be modern? Larry says, not to me. Helen says, it doesn't strike me as being modern. Definitely not 20th century. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh,
guys,
listen to Gary.
Like, I know. Like, you could even venture to say not 19th century. Like, come on, guys. It is definitely old, but I know as an archaeologist, they don't want to put their reputation on the line get anybody's hopes up.
Yeah, but I think like when I saw Gary's reaction to it, though, to me, it said, this is like Lead Cross old.
Yeah, at least.
So,
and
Drayton's Cross.
Know that in kind of like the leading up to this season, that they find something older than they have found ever on the island.
You see what they're saying in the chat about King Tut?
Yeah, he gave his life for tourism.
That's pretty good. And Tom Burns says he's just a wild and crazy guy, but you don't even know what that means, do you? I do. No. Steve Martin.
Oh,
he's a wild and crazy guy, but he did a skit about King Tut.
Oh, okay, that makes.
And the other comment was from Jeff about he gave his life for tourism. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it calls him Funky Tut.
Yeah,
I got some books about him over here.
Okay. Anywho, yeah, that's it. And then we go to the war room.
Yes.
Because they want to talk about this piece a little bit more with an expert.
Well,
with Mr. Ed.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Ed.
So we find out who Ed is that we were talking about on the next time on, last time. And we find out he's not Mr. Ed. He is actually Mr. Ed.
No, he's Doctor.
Doctor, not Mr. Ed. He's
not Mr. Ed. He's Mr. Ed.
He's Dr. Ed. He's Dr. Ed Barnhart.
Tell me more.
He is the director of Maya Exploration of the Maya Exploration Center. Don't know where that is. Let's see here.
And he's basically being interviewed by Rick, Alex, Gary, Jack, Scott, and Steve. No Marty. Where's Marty? I thought you said Marty was in this episode.
He is.
Okay.
It's not over yet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Rick opens by saying to him, because this is a video conference, that he knows they have sent him a picture over of the item that they are hoping he can render an opinion on and hopefully shed some light on it based off of his experiences. So Dr. Barnhart goes on to say he has spent much of his career in Mesoamerica, and he's also done a lot of work in North and South America. So he has a pretty large range of the Americas in general. He specializes mostly in archaeoastronomy and the ancient sciences, which would include metallurgy, which is part of. I mean, they're showing him a piece of metal, so he's kind of saying, yeah, that would also fall in my wheelhouse. He explains that what they have, looking at the object, appears to be metal, and it does have some iconography on it.
That's what XRF said too.
Weird.
It definitely said it was metal.
Yes, and my eyes also tell me some iconography on it, and which appear to hopefully be diagnostic in saying, where this item came from, what kind of story it tells. And it does seem to have some amount of perishable material, in it, that they may be able to date as well. And he is very interested in digging into it deeper. So it's interesting that perishable item, which kind of looked to be like twine or or grasses or whatever, and made me think with it coming through there, could it be kind of like a central piece of holding it together for like a necklace or some type of ceremonial piece? But it'll be interesting to see if they get any information back on that organic matter, if you will. That's all.
Okie dokie. Alex asks Dr. Ed, Mr. Ed, Dr. Ed,
Dr. Barnhart,
if his experience, is there anything that just jumps into his head when he first looks at it? And Alex explains at first glance, they thought there was a pattern on it.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Barnhart says that the pattern is intriguing, but it appears to be purely geometric, and he wishes they had like a foot or an arm sticking out of there. But the geometry, and I think he means this particular geometry, is all over the planet. So that does not narrow it down for them as to what region or what continent. I mean, I understand what he's saying about wishing there was an arm or a foot or something in there, because you think about pottery and having like the different scenes or whatever. But when I first heard this, I was like, a random foot or arm, this seems weird.
Well, because they'd be able to tie it to a specific civilization, but location. Literally, Deidre's already showed you guys where this is from with the.
I know they can't hear me
with the hieroglyphs on it. Come on
now, but it's all over the world. But then he goes back to say it's not from the Americas.
There you go.
So,
all goes back to Deidre.
It is. I'm telling you, they should just hire me and call me a doctor. Put a cap on it. Okay, not really. They work really hard for those degrees.
If you were on the show and they said Dr. Deidre, would you wear a stethoscope? That'd be fun.
The wrong kind of doctor.
Next time they have Aaron Taylor on the show or something, he needs to have a stethoscope because it'd just be funny.
I'd show up in like a tweed suit. Something
with a magnifying glass in your pocket.
Yeah, something a little bit more of a vintage doctor style. I think that's up my alley.
Okay. All right. Oh, by the way, his name's Edwin.
Yes.
But the closed caption says Ed.
Mm-hmm. So
just throwing that out there. I'm lost in the notes. Can you keep going?
Okay, let's see here. Rick chimes in to say that initially they thought it was stamped, but looking further at it, at the symbols. They are not stamped, but rather irregular in terms of its design, which is what made them think it was more of an artisan or a handcrafted piece. Alex says, well, it's basically embossed. Not quite, but Dr. Barnhart agrees that it was likely handmade and not factory made, which in itself lends to an older date. But the material seems to be some sort of a copper-based plating, which we agree. But we know he hasn't seen the results, of the CT scan yet. But there's not a lot of things made in the Americas, which is where his specialty is, that's not gold or silver. Like, usually you're not going to see a copper alloy. People found the precious metal gold or silver that they would more likely want to create special things out of. So to him, that seems to be one of the big factors that say it's not from this region.
Okay.
And that gets everybody in the war room very excited. Let's see here. And then Rick, it's funny because they keep going back to Dr. Barnhart, like trying to get him to say something about what it is versus what it isn't. They like keep probing about his initial thoughts. It would be like trying to interview Laird or Helen or Emma, about it like they were trying to do in the lab. That's just not how it works in archaeology.
Yeah, they want to know, and they want to tell them, well, I know it's not this. I know it's not this. What it is, we'll get back to you.
Exactly. I mean, we'll get back to you based off of a body of proof of information in which we can tell you what it could potentially be. And we can just rule out what it's not by deductive reasoning, my dear Watson. But so anyways, Rick is digging in and asks upon initial visualization what he thinks it might be. And he responds with, sure. It might be something that once covered an object as decoration, some sort of ornate metallic cover to an object. The Europeans did a lot of that. They covered boxes and furniture, so it could have come from afar. And because of its iconography, it could be some sort of religious object. Okay, I mean, I think that's fair. It's been speculated about part of a headdress or some type of religious object, and we have found, the cross was on the island, and we have a giant boulder cross.
Back in the day, when people would make anything, there's always a good chance it has some kind of religious connection, because that's what they celebrated.
Well, and a lot of their laws, their everything within their life, even the sciences, revolved around religions. That's why history of churches and religions is so important, because there is a lot of really rich, deep history that gives you a cultural context, which is more or less what we need here, is the cultural context. I don't know where that went off of my... Oh, yeah. So he's talking about being a boarder from something and the culture. Rick tells him that in their lab, they have an XRF and an XRD.
Do you think he's trying to be like, look how cool we are?
He's totally flexing here. Weird flex, bro, but cool. And that's a Laird flex. Like, he says it all the time. It's really cool. So they will send him over those reports, and they look forward to any response or inferences that he can make based on those reports. And then Dr. Barnhart says, thank you for involving him in this mystery, that he will take a look at the reports, and kind of get back to him on what his thoughts were. Well, he was talking about, and what Alex had mentioned was like the embossing, right? And how that would cover, say, a frame to something. Well, the frame, he's saying, let's say it's a wooden frame, just plain wood, maybe it's oak wood, who knows? And they have thinly made this piece of copper. Well, within the wood, you would have carved your design, hand carved it all the way around. But in order to make it dazzle, as he says, or impress someone, or really stand out, especially in a cultural way, you would add decoration to it. So you've carved out your pretty border, and then you would overlay this very thin copper and more or less impress it into your frame, right? So you have this base mold at the bottom, and it would have been overlaid just like you would with gold leafing that's way thinner than this. But copper was probably a less expensive and easy to work with and pretty shiny thing that you could put around it, just like you would say maybe the Ark of the Covenant, being if it was made of wood or of some kind, and it's even a lighter wood, something that's, or even very dense wood, and then you would cover it with these thin layers of whatever it is to be impressive. If it was a frame, then whatever is inside the frame, say it was a painting, would have more of the cultural reference, which you likely are not going to find with a metal detector. But we know pieces of parchment have come out of the money pit. And there's other things that have been pulled up from around the island that are not just metal, but near that, near the giving lot, maybe there's some of these, well, I want to say like parchments, paper, whatever could be left of this frame or box that would have been covered in copper to dazzle someone. So the real cultural reference could be what is inside of it, of said object, versus the copper itself. Cool. I know I just went in a big circle, but...
Well, you lost me a long time ago. I've just been nodding along because like you were talking about being impressed or something being impressed. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, you're impressed by a rock near a place, hunter's flock.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do. But seriously, like I could probably go to the craft store, mm-hmm. get some wood. Mm-hmm. I bet you I could carve in these similar pictures. I can get a thin sheeting of copper and, you know, with the tools, be able to press it in to make a frame or whatever this item could potentially be.
Okay, I want to see you do it then.
Okay.
I challenge you.
I'll go there tonight.
Wow. Challenge accepted.
Done.
Okay.
I will show you what it is that they found and how they did it.
You gonna make a video?
Maybe. Maybe I'll just bring it for show and tell.
Tomorrow? We'll be able to do it all by tomorrow?
I gotta go to the store right after this.
All right. Cool. Hey, so that's it with Mr. Ed.
That's it, but then we do have one more section.
Well, hold on. I'm not done with Mr. Ed.
Well, you just said it was it with Mr. Ed.
Yeah, that's the end of that.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to say something, and then I want you to read Jeff's last comment 2 times, okay? I want you to read that same comment 2 times in a row. A horse is a horse.
Of course, of course.
There you go. That's it.
It's Dr. Ed to you.
He was Mr. Ed first.
It's not Mr. Ed. It's Mr. Ed.
Wilbur. Okay.
Oh, dear Lordy.
All right. So we had a little thing, a little blip at the end of the show with showing Irving Equipment Limited arriving onto the island with their giant crane and setting it up. Mm-hmm. Is that it?
I would just like to say Tony Sampson just joined us in the chat. Hey, Tony.
Tony's going to be on the episode tomorrow night. I know.
I was just going to say we got him in the preview for next week.
Heck yeah. That's exciting.
I can't wait.
He's doing some stuff in the swamp.
In particular, he's doing some diving and pushing.
pushing of a boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Doing
it's
some
going to be
boat
exciting.
pushing.
We're excited to see you on the show again, Tony. All right, so next time on the Curse of Oak Island.
No, that's not where we're at.
I already said everything about the crane setup.
No, you didn't.
I yada-yada'd it.
Nope. So Rick meets with Dumas. Irving Equipment Limited come and deliver their 109-ton crane, which is I have pictures of. I saw it, guys. I saw it. And for the next construction phase of the garden shaft. And of course, they're using a different type of hammer grab this time.
3-ton.
Yes. I guess what I really want to get out of this is here's where Marty is. So there's a random side interview with Marty because you kept asking if he was in this episode. And he states, is it possible that after applying all this technology, we have come full circle only to arrive where the first searchers started by digging a shaft down? We might actually figure out what happened here and potentially uncover a treasure. It's a romantic idea as can be, and it's exciting. We're going to go underground, and the cool thing to me is that it comes clearly back around to what the original searchers did, but only maybe this time will be successful.
Maybe.
So
fingers crossed.
Hoping that, I mean, it's exciting. This whole idea that they're going to be able to put down a shaft and get under there, like all those that have come before them. And really, they're going through the footsteps of like the exact ones as someone that came before them because they're using a shaft that was already there. One of the 40.
They're basically using their footsteps.
They're recycling.
Okay. Is that it?
Next time on The Curse of Oak Island.
What happens?
We hear Rick say that they're going to run geophysical investigations in the swamp, which is where we see Alex pushing out people in, like, there you go, have fun. But Tony's in the water pushing 2 people in a boat, a small inflatable type of boat. And they're running some type of geophysical investigation, it appears.
Tony's swimming in the stinky swamp.
Yeah, he loves it. He does. He's a fan.
Okay.
He's like, swimming, that's what I do.
That's what he does.
It's what he does. He is a diver. He's a salty dog, if you will. We get a glimpse of the handheld device that's potentially like the scanner that they're using, and one of the guys in the boat say they got a big hit, and Tony looks very excited about this.
He even said in the chat just now that it was so much fun.
Yeah, I bet. I want to know things, Tony.
We're excited to see it tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't wait. And then we get another dynamic duo who is very excited, Gary and Jack.
Oh, those guys.
But they're even more excited. Like, they're practically jumping.
Yeah, they did look pretty stoked.
As they're digging it up because they're both shouting, I see it! It was like a game of, I don't know, Where's Waldo or I Spy, but they're both like, ah! And Gary says, oh, yeah, this is nice. He sounds like a pirate at that time. And Jack's eyes are bulging out of his head because they're both just that thrilled. In the money pit, we do see more of Choice Sonic drilling, and then we get Terry and Alex, and they say that this is not a natural cavity, and Alex says that they need to get a camera down there. So
they're all about the cameras down the boreholes.
Thank goodness. I mean, get a camera and do the sonar. Well, where we left them off, they were digging in that new borehole just inside the Muon. So it could be that one. And then let's see here. And lastly, we get Rick, Marty, Steve, and Paul. They're in the money pit with the camera looking down into the borehole, Marty says, "No, stop," and then points to what is on the screen. It looks like a flat, like rock on the camera footage, and he says it looks like some sort of pedestal sticking out. Now, it's really square, right? It kind of. Do you remember what I said when I saw it on the Next Week On?
What, 90-foot stone?
Yeah, I was like, maybe that's the 90-foot stone. That seems kind of spot on.
Or a friend of the 90-foot stone.
Mm-hmm.
Like something that popped in my head, probably no relation at all, but I was thinking like that stone in the Templar initiation chamber that had the date written on it.
Oh yeah,
carved into it. Was it
the one with Gretchen?
Yeah,
yeah.
That's what popped
Like
in my
brick?
mind. Yeah, but like I don't know, just popped in my brain though. That's what I was thinking.
Just popped on in.
And that's it.
Yeah, that is it. As far as the next time on, we already touched base on the Maddie Blake special, so that was a lot, guys.
Sweet. Cool. So if that's that, then we will wrap up. Like we got tomorrow night, we got Oak Island pregame.
Yes.
And that's at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
On YouTube, Facebook, anywhere else?
That's it.
Okay. Why aren't we on Twitch? We used to be on Twitch.
Because we just got a bunch of weird, creepy people showing up. By a bunch, I mean like 2, and then nobody else.
Okay. So we have the pregame.
Yes.
A week from today, we'll have the recap episode for the next episode of the Curse of Oak Island with the Tony special.
And then it'll only be 1 week until surgery.
Okay, yes. But we also have Oak Island Trivia a week from today.
Yes.
And that'll be at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Oak Island recap podcast will be at noon, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Correct.
Noon Pacific. So we want to thank Susan in the chat for giving us all of our links.
Yes.
Our email is oakislandpodcast@gmail.com.
You're looking at me like...
Okay, well, wait a second. Before we get into that stuff, I want to share at least one trivia question that's going to be on the next Oak Island Trivia, so that the people that are here, that are dedicated enough to listen or watch, they get a little upper hand when it comes to Oak Island Trivia next week. So I need you to pick a number between 1 and 10, and I'll read that trivia question so that people will have a leg up. So
yes,
go for it.
So I need to pick between 1 and 10.
1 and 10.
7.
Ooh, lucky number 7. That's a good number.
Number 7.
If you guys don't know, we were married on 7/7/07.
At 7:07 p.m.
It's a thing. All right, so let me see. Question number 7. Okay. Question 7 will be, while working at borehole F.25-14, Scott Barlow that's 14.
Isn't it 14.4?
It is 14.4. My bad. It reformatted weird here. All right. While working on borehole F.25-14.4, Scott Barlow was wearing what kind of choice sonic drilling apparel? Is it 1, a hat, 2, a hoodie, 3, a t-shirt, or 4, a coat? That says choice sonic drilling on it. Yeah, so this is specifically when he's at borehole F.25-14.4. So there you go. That is your homework. Go look that up. Make sure you have it for Oak Island Trivia when we get back to that next week.
Mm-hmm.
And
so let's see here. We will recap tomorrow night's episode on the Monday following.
Yep.
Right. And then, but of course, if you want to recap before then, we have our friends over at the Curse of Oak Island
and beyond.
J Free
906.
So you can find them in
Tom
Facebook
too. Isn't
group.
Tom usually there?
He is, but I was giving like the handles as where to find them. Yeah, Tom's there. You've seen him in the chat. Tom Burns. He's pretty quick with those dad jokes too.
Good.
He's
Good
a
guy.
funny one. So there's a few of them in the group. The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond is where they air their podcast on the day following
Wednesday.
when it airs in the U.S. So Wednesday it's 4:30 our time, 4:30 Pacific.
So it'll be 7:30 Eastern.
Yep, and they're also on YouTube. and Twitch and all kinds
at
of
JFree
things.
906.
906.
All right. So you can find us on Facebook, at facebook.com/Oak Island.
Yep.
/Oak Island Podcast.
You can find us on Instagram, which I have not done anything on there in a while, and I should, at Oak Island Podcast. Twitter at Oak Island Pod. Of course, YouTube at Oak Island Podcast.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. So come back and see us tomorrow night for Oak Island pregame, and we'll have a lot of fun just chatting about what the next episode is going to be about.
About the next episode.
Cool.
Let y'all speculate about all the rabbit holes we went down.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for sending well wishes while we were sick. We were not feeling good.
Seriously.
We are much better now, as you can see. And yeah, that's it.
All right. So
Well,
until next time.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Oh, what?
Until next time.
Could it be?